Hi, welcome back to the Eclectic Podcast. This is episode number 9. We we hope that maybe when you go to bed at night and you're all snug in your blankets, you'll play our podcast and let us talk while you fall asleep, and maybe allow us passage into your dreamland, where together we can weave the tapestries of a true telepathic paradise and bathe under waterfalls of psychedelic love. And upon awakening in the morning, perhaps still glowing from the enchanted visions of your sweet slumber, you'll set out to manifest a better life for yourself and a better world for your children, and give out free hugs and kisses, maybe to us.
Amen.
That is our great hope.
Amen.
So, before we really get kicked off here today, I'm Josh Holbrook, by the way. This is John Crass. I was giving him a little bit of an instruction in how one uses a standard Bic lighter to open a beer bottle.
Yeah.
And it's really quite simple once you get the craft down.
I'm just a greenhorn. I'm like a teeny bopper when it comes to popping my beer bottles.
What you want to do is you want to wrap your hand around the bottle.
You should get it in the shot, so that we can see what's going on here, so the listener can get
So
a
it's
visual.
like you want to wrap your hand like so. Your index finger
Up a little bit.
is level. Is this good?
Yeah.
Level to the top of the cap. But you don't want there shouldn't be room there. There shouldn't be room for the lighter to go under. See, it doesn't. The bottle doesn't want to take the lighter.
Yeah.
You don't want to coax the cap off. You want to rape it off.
Yeah.
So you got to force that thing in there like this.
Okay.
And just kind of
Get real
yeah,
gritty with
yeah.
it.
See, and then you just gently ease up a little bit, and then boom, voila,
Bangarang.
and it's done.
I'm still perfecting that technique.
Takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
So, one issue that I would like to discuss, because it's been in the news today, it's all over the news, is this, the Defense of Marriage Act was kind of put down by the court system for like federally, and and it, sure, it's great, whatever, like we talked before, I think, in like episode 4 maybe, we support gay marriage and all that, like, and it's even ridiculous to me that it's even an issue, really. The problem that I have with the way that it's like overtaken the news and all this, on one hand, it's the obvious that, like, why is this even such a big deal? This shouldn't even be a big deal, at this point. Like, it almost seems like you're giving the qualms with gay marriage too much credence by creating such a, like, fuss over a victory, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing that really bothers me is how something like this totally overshadows something that's a lot more concerning, like the whole NSA leak and Edward Snowden and that whole story that's going on right now, which is like extremely like important, I think, to understand and for people to realize what's going on there, and the way that it's almost like an afterthought to an issue like this, and then you have all these people that claim to be, real, into politics and, avid followers of it, whatever, involved people and activists, and they're so passionate about this, which, I mean, again, I agree with the cause, but it seems to be, it should be like an afterthought, and, don't you find that kind of, just kind of funny?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a diversionary tactic. I think most mainstream news is in the big government, big corporations' pocket, and they're meant to spin things or make non-stories stories and make the real stories non-issues. It's just a diversion tactic. They're distracting us from real issues, like, maybe we should be talking more about the NSA, or the economy, or unemployment, feeding the hungry. I mean, I could go on and on.
Yeah.
There's more pressing issues.
Certainly, and, it's just, I just, maybe even on, like, social media and stuff, I'll see a lot of people that, they're jumping in the game on this issue, but they're sitting it out on something like the NSA thing, which is, has revealed that, the government is basically wiping their ass with the Fourth Amendment. And, it shows strong connotations of totalitarianism and empire, and I think I saw a quote from, it was either like Ron Paul or Noam Chomsky or one of those intelligent fellows that said that they're trying to label Snowden as dabbling in espionage for this, but espionage is when you take secrets and give them to the enemy.
Yeah.
And so basically the connotation there, the implication is that the government views the American people as the enemy, because that's who you release this information to.
Yeah.
People. So I think that's interesting to ponder.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's any credence to this or if it actually holds water, but they said also, some of these stories that I've been following on Snowden and stuff, that he gave the Chinese government some tips that, like, we were hacking into their computers and stuff, and when he was in Russia, they're saying that he possibly disclosed some sensitive information there too, but
yeah, well, I mean,
that's what they're saying. But I think you hit it on the head, that really what they're concerned about is what he revealed domestically more than anything else. Because I'm sure the Chinese government can assume that we've been hacking their computers for a while.
Oh yeah, they do it to us. I'm sure we do it to them. Everybody does it to everybody else. That's the modern world.
Yeah, that's old news. Like, what they're really upset about, why he's an enemy of the state, is because of the sensitive information that he revealed to the American public.
Yeah.
Which, the connotation there is that we are dangerous. We are the perceived threat, the enemy.
Yeah, they don't want that public sentiment to, like, sweep up and cause changes domestically. That's basically what it comes down to. They don't want, their fun little games to come to an end,
Mm-hmm.
But another interesting point I heard someone bring up somewhere the other day, is kind of related, is just, like, Congress itself and, like, the legislature and how far, how much gets decided there in Washington, D.C. from, a relatively small group of people without actual direct, tangible public say in a lot of matters. And it reminded me, like, how this country was founded. It was founded upon the idea of a republic. And the word republic, it's derived from a Latin term for public matter. And so basically the idea of a republic is that all the people have a say in what goes on, the policies of the government, and it's it's cooperative. We're all in this together. We all have a say. And I just think it's funny how the idea of Congress, I mean, and I'm not offering up any other solution here, I just think it's an interesting question to ask, is that Congress is doesn't it appear to be kind of an outdated version of a republic in a way, because we're talking about, like, back in the day, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever, you couldn't, we couldn't talk to somebody in Washington, D.C. if you were in the other states or, across the country.
Yeah.
So we had to elect one of our own, one of us, to go and speak for us, as a representative, and to, state our case, our wishes, our opinions on things. It's outdated today because we have instant communication all over the world. Like we can have a say here in Washington State to people in Washington D.C. on the East Coast, in California, wherever we want to communicate. There doesn't seem to be a need to elect one person from among us, in a district and send them off to speak, speak our cause at some gathering of congressmen. That's a really archaic. That's like an archaic form of a republic, and I wonder if maybe there's not a more modern and constructive way to maybe look at the idea of a republic.
Yeah, seems like there's definitely a more efficient way to go about implementing policies and giving a voice to the people. I'm no expert on the matter. I don't have any solution to offer up. I'll leave that to someone more qualified, more well-equipped. But it definitely seems dated, and it's time to evolve, not just on a personal, spiritual basis, but that includes our governments, our businesses and corporations, religions, etc., and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Well, just kind of switching gears here now. I think an interesting subject to discuss is something that we've talked about a lot and we've had an interest in for a long time. And we were talking about this a couple of days ago, so I think it'd be good to bring up, and that is the concept of indigo children. And maybe you could maybe explain a little bit about what that concept is and maybe how it pertains to the modern world.
Okay, the phrase was originally coined by this lady, I think her name was Nancy Ann Tapp, and she's really in tune with auras. She trained to be able to pick up people's auras, and she wrote a book called Living Your Life in Color or something along those lines. I don't think that's the exact title, but it's close to that. And it kind of says that indigo children have always been among us, but they are very rare individuals. But somewhere around the last 40, 50 years, there have been a boom in children being born with an indigo aura. And what that suggests, the aura of indigo, is they're really in tune with themselves and the world around them, and specifically with other indigo children. They kind of tend to butt heads with authority and in particular the education system or whatever, but that doesn't mean they're not exceptionally bright, and they have a real sensitivity to the issues of the world, the important issues, and they're meant to bring about great change, kind of usher us into that new era of a prosperous, beautiful, bright future that we always talk about.
Yeah.
And basically the next step of human evolution is really what they're meant to bring about.
Yeah.
A revolution of sorts.
Yeah.
The first non-violent one.
A revolution by evolution.
Yeah. Revolution of the mind.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and the traits that I have heard commonly associated with indigo children, and understand the indigo children, that's just a term. They're not just kids. They're people.
Yeah.
They're just
There's still indigo children even into adulthood.
Yeah.
Seniority.
That's just a term we use to describe them. I think that their aura is the indigo color. And I know that does sound like pseudoscience, but people really do see auras. It's a common thing in some parts of the world. People do radiate energy, and it projects colors. Well, it sounds crazy, but it's basically been proven.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of people that, and it was a fringe science for a long time, but it's gaining more and more momentum and becoming undeniable. The electromagnetic energy that every human puts off, there's some schools of thought that say that's like what the aura is people who can see that electromagnetic pulsing from people.
Yeah.
And that is your aura, and it does put off a certain color.
Yeah, absolutely. That's again, that spirituality and science finally getting to a point where they're kind of starting to come together.
Mm-hmm.
But the traits that I've heard commonly associated with indigo children are intelligence, and like you said, kind of a lot of the time they're unsuccessful in integrating into their community or into society. They have different interests that don't really allow them to kind of buy into the system, so to speak.
Yeah.
They're kind of like they're natural diplomats, and are very good at like just rationally looking at a situation and kind of being able to broker a peaceful resolution to anything big or small.
Mm-hmm.
They're very like sensitive to their surroundings and just very aware. They have just a cognitive awareness and a great perceptual discernment. And an interesting thing that I read was that they're, and we talked about this a couple of days ago, that they have this like a rare balance between the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain, and that they're very like creative, artistic, and from the right side of the brain, like that's really their passion that drives them. But they also have like a very highly functioning left side of the brain, which allows them to look at things very analytically and logically, and be very rational people. So it's kind of a combination of being very rational and very creative, which is rare, very rare. And so that's the basic characteristics of an indigo child. But I think I think the most interesting thing is, what is their reason for being here? Are they the next stage of evolution, or is it to reshape the planet in a way? Like, what do you think? Do you think that all of humanity is going in that direction, and that the indigo children concept is just the way we're labeling like the first people that are like popping up, that are belonging to like that next type of person, that's coming down the road?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. It's a comforting notion. Because we kind of talk a lot about doom and gloom type stuff, and how the situations and pressures of the world are coming to a head. And there's potential for mass destruction and hysteria and tragedy. But with these so-called indigo children, and there's also some studies that suggest there's these crystalline children and rainbow children that are like the next step after that are starting to pop out with like these different auras, and even more in tune with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that's what I would hope for, rather than a nuclear war, global famine, or whatever. That we could get our shit straight and start changing things and constructing a better future. That's what I think their primary purpose is, because they're like you just touched on, the balance between both sides of the brain. They can basically be adept at anything they choose.
Yeah.
So get these people in science labs, get these people in the government, get these people
in positions of leadership.
Starting revolutions in music and art, and there's the capacity for change.
Yeah, and this ties in with what we've been talking about, throughout all these podcasts, is that hopefully, it will be a non-violent revolution. The way that society continues to evolve, that it will be like the old generation kind of dies off, the old way of doing things, and then the next stage of humanity just kind of just matures and comes into, I don't want to say comes into power, but they assume all these positions of leadership and really take charge of leading the planet and leading humanity, across the world. And it's amazing to think about the benefits of, or how optimistic of an outlook that is, like how good that would be for humanity, rather than continuing on with like the violence and just the same old way of doing things.
Yeah.
And just perpetuating that nonsense. Like it's very it's inspiring and comforting to think that maybe this is the way things are going to go.
Mm-hmm. And that's not to say there won't be conflict, but I think we're seeing that play out right now. I would hope that the good guys win, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and these indigo children start assuming positions of power and responsibility across the globe and start kind of unifying our direction, so to speak, in a concerted effort for the betterment of humankind, not just ourselves, not just our nation. We need to break those boundaries down.
Absolutely.
Got to stop drawing those lines in the sand and this is mine, and you try to take it from me, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
It's the same as our distant ancestors, the same battles they were fighting.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
It's time to grow up.
I know. As a species, it's time to grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
Pull your heads out your buns, and let's figure out what we're really doing here.
Yeah. It's time to think about that. What are we doing here?
We're on a collision course right now. It's like Duncan said on one of his podcasts that it's one of mine, and I'm pretty sure yours, like, favorite analogies. Like, kind of waking up out of cryo sleep as a species on some crazy organic spaceship hurtling towards destruction.
Yeah.
And everybody's like kind of just now realizing, like, whoa.
Waking up out of the fog a little bit.
Yeah. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Does anybody know?
What
are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's like we have amnesia or something, and I love that analogy that Duncan made. But it like we're on this spaceship, and it's like the controls are like set for the sun.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, does anyone know what's going on here? What are we doing? Does anyone know how to turn this thing around? Do you know how to stop? Where did we come from? I don't know how we got here. My memory's a little fuzzy. I don't know about you. It's like, shit, we gotta figure this out early soon.
Yeah, it's like our species, everybody has all come from the same place. We've only forgotten.
Yeah.
We all have some common ground, but it's easier to point out the differences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what has held us back for so long. But I think something that gives me a little shred of optimism and hope is that people are kind of starting to wake up to that and realize, like, whoa, this whole system is fucked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What are we going to do now?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yep, and that's again, we're not sitting here offering all the world's solutions or anything, but it's just we're trying to provoke that conversation to occur. We need to sit down. It's almost like an intervention with the entire human race. We need to sit down in a room and be like, all right, guys, what the fuck are we doing? What's going on here? Where do we come from? Where are we going?
And just cut the shit,
Let's
too.
just calm down. Let's chill. Let's
Yeah.
chill for a minute here. You don't need to put that fucking gun away. You don't need that.
Let's talk it out. Use your words.
Yeah, use your words. Use your big boy voice. that's comic opera.
Yep. It's just playing out.
I got something I was thinking about the other day, and this isn't related to anything we were talking about before. It sprung to my head when we were talking about like indigo children, like kids. It just for some reason it popped into my head. But something that's funny to me, we're getting into the summer now, summertime of the year, and there's a lot of little league games going on and that type of thing, and I have kind of a reflection on kind of that little the little league subculture, and like communities like ours. I don't know if you would agree or not, but here's my kind of thought. I can I'll walk, I'll go walking downtown or whatever, just strolling through town, on a nice day, and it occurred to me whoa, I can hear parents from blocks away screaming and shouting and hollering at their kids' little league games. And, I'm blocks away. I should not be hearing, angry shouts that I hear all the time.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me, what is really going on there? They're, I'll hear things like, keep your eye on the ball, from a distance away, so they're just yelling it and angry shouting at these kids that are playing t-ball or little league, whatever it is. Keep your eye on the ball. Come on, hustle, shit like that. And it's whoa, dude, it's concerning to me, and I know this is kind of a taboo subject to even touch on. It's going to be well, you don't support the kids or some ridiculous thing like that.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm all for, kids playing, little games and sports or whatever. If it's a fun activity for them, good. Intermingling with other kids and having a fun little time, great. But what I find kind of distasteful is the extent that some parents get involved with it, and it's they become real little Nazis about their kids playing a game, and they get real strict about it, and it seems to me like a lot of these parents are living vicariously through their children and turning it into some kind of proxy bragging rights battle with other adults.
Yeah.
And I think that's a shameful example to set, and it's just I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's kind of a taboo subject, and something that might get people a little up in arms.
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to start a conflict, we're just kind of invoking discussion.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about the podcast is we can bring up stuff that's unrelated to what we talked before. There's no formula. We just go. But it's kind of concerning that if that's what the kid wants to do and stuff, support him. But a lot of these parents, I would think, are kind of thrusting their kids into that. It's some high pressure situation where
they do, but they put a lot of pressure on the kids.
Yeah, screaming at them, giving them pats on the back if they do well, or maybe not if they don't do well.
Yeah.
But and then you made an interesting point, the kind of living vicariously that the parents seem to, not all of them, making blanket generalizations, blanket statements.
Oh yeah, we're not saying all of them, but the most vocal ones, definitely.
Yeah, and it's a form of bragging rights, living vicariously through their child, and it's interesting that the child does well, and that's a feather in their cap. Oh yeah, that child's a badass on little league team, or if they strike out, it's embarrassing for the parent.
Yeah, but it's
you're putting all that on your little child.
Yeah, a kid. You're putting this this weird social situation. It's basically a microcosm for the way adults interact out in society, and you're putting it into some little game. And think about the kids that lose the game. They feel bad because they I didn't perform well or whatever. It's like they're way too young to be having any guilt over, and it's a stupid game, and I will say that. If it's fun for the kid, then that's absolutely a great thing, but if it ceases to be an enjoyable experience for the kids, then it loses its only redeeming quality, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, exactly. It's like, the reward system that I think's in place, like if you go out there and do good, you're gonna get a pat on the back, and if you don't, then you're gonna get yelled at. Hustle, because that's such an important thing to teach kids in life, is to hustle and keep their eye on the ball, because that's
keep your head down and keep pounding through the work and don't think about nothing.
Yeah, it's gonna come. I'm sure that's gonna come to some fruition someday in some form. Not.
Well, it's like there's two sides to the coin. There are some parents who are have their kids' best interests at heart and don't.
I think most of them do.
Yeah, it's the few that we're talking about that give them all kind of a bad name, so to speak. But it's like a form of conditioning in a way. On the one side of the coin, it does teach good values to the child, teamwork and camaraderie and having fun. But on the flip side, you have this kind of conditioning of pressure and performance and do well, or you're going to be shamed, basically.
Yeah.
And it kind of is like almost conditioning them for like military and like.
Yeah, or just a job in general.
Yeah.
It's conditioning. It's almost like conditioning for entering into the workplace, into the workforce at some point.
Yeah.
Or military, exactly. It's like that uniformed, and that's what I find distasteful about a lot of aspects of society, is that, you gotta fit in.
Yeah.
You gotta fit into this group. You gotta fit in and learn how to become the same as all of your peers. And I think that's like a kind of a subtle, just under the layer of a lot of little kids sports and activities and stuff. But again, I don't think it's not most parents. I just think that there are definitely a lot of vocal ones that, again, if I can hear them from downtown, blocks away from the ballpark, shouting, these just stupid, trite little fucking redundancies, keep your eye on the ball. I can hear some fat redneck, just cheering on his fucking kid and getting real angry about it. If there's any emotion that's negative associated with it, then whoa, you need to take a step back here and look at what you're fucking.
It's just a game.
Yeah, and it's not only is it just a game, but it's a game with kids.
Yeah.
And that becomes all the more sensitive.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This behavior like that is filth.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, man. I hear it all the time downtown, at work or at certain friends' house who are blocks away.
Yeah.
Not just a couple blocks, 4 or 5 blocks.
Yeah, you can hear it from across town,
just
and then
this raucous roar,
Yeah, they're gladiatorial combat or something.
Yeah.
And think about how. Yeah, it's a mini Coliseum. So just imagine how loud it is in person over there, just imagine that fury that those kids are being subjected to by just a raucous crowd of parents, what a fucking situation to put your children in.
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean it all comes down to the individual and the parents themselves to evaluate what values are we teaching our kids here.
Yeah.
Do they hold any water in a real world sense in the well-being of my child?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the important question. Is once you have a child, you got to put them first.
Yeah. You
got to put this whole bragging rights, pride thing aside.
Yeah.
And just nurture them.
Yeah, and it's for a lot of parents that too. It's it is exactly like you said. It's kind of like a social. It's kind of like a social conduit for them. They get to get together with the other parents, and it becomes kind of a an activity for them more than the kids even.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they want to
focus comes off of the kids, and that's not really what it should be.
It's just
about.
It becomes kind of like a little circus that they're involved in, and it's just mostly for social posturing than about kids having fun. Kids can go in their backyard and play wiffle ball and have fun, and you can take all that pressure off of them and that rigid like social conditioning, I think. And again, that's my opinion, but I think to a select few Little League parents out there, calm the fuck down. Chill, bro. Get it together, bitches.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know. Some of the pressure, I think, is kind of put on by the parents too. Like, if your child's a natural athlete and that's what he wants to do, he or she, I don't mean to be sexist here, by all means, I think that's a good thing.
And if they enjoy it, yeah.
Yeah, but like, kind of, some parents, I would venture to say, want to force their kids into it, and
that happens.
Yeah, and maybe there's something else they could possibly want to do more or excel more at.
Yeah, how many of those parents, there's a lot of good like documentaries and books that are like about science and history in the world that are structured for kids. There's a lot of resources out there that are really good like that. And I don't think that I haven't seen anything in our community that would suggest to me that parents are pushing any of that on their kids, or maybe pushing is the wrong word, maybe exposing their kids to that type of stuff, which might be a good thing. Maybe those are values and for the formation of like a well-being in a kid's life that might pay dividends later on in life, and again, it comes back to the social reasons why I think a lot of parents might push like these social activities on their kids, and that's just that's yet again another example of kind of a facet of society that we live in. But I think it's that's one more thing that needs to be reevaluated, because it seems like a lot of qualities of that seem sick to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with sports and stuff if that's what your child wants to do. I think that's a good outlet.
Yeah.
But I think the responsibility of the parent is to find out what their interests, what their aptitudes are.
Yeah.
And cultivate that into, fruition, the best possible. Just trying to nurture them into a point where they can assimilate with this crazy world, and not all of them sports is the answer. Like maybe your kid would be more comfortable exploring visual arts or music or theater or reading, like you said, certain resources that I think all children should be exposed to, regardless of what their interests are. It kind of seems like some of the core values get lost in the wash.
Yeah.
To pause for a second. Right. We changed our location. We're also going to change the subject. Keep you on your toes. I'd like to talk about movies with a lot of substance, artistic merit. Maybe kind of resonate with a lot of the stuff we've talked about. Help us to find poignancy in everyday life. Maybe movies that talk about an individual's journey for the truth.
Yeah.
I think a classic example of this would be American Beauty.
Absolutely.
Probably not just one of my all-time favorite movies, probably my single all-time favorite
Yeah, American Beauty. Definitely my favorite movie of all time. So if we're gonna just kind of throw out a few suggestions here about films and stuff that really resonate with the type of stuff we talk about, just for your own viewing purposes, American Beauty, I think that's exactly where we should start. Kevin Spacey, basically, I don't know how you would describe the premise of that film, except that it is, like we've talked about in a lot of these podcasts, it's about like an individual kind of waking up out of the haze of everyday life and taking a step back and like really looking at their life and deciding to make changes and seek out the truth in their life and evolve as a person, and and really just alter their life.
Take control.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be tough to kind of explain the premise of it without revealing certain key plot points, so I think maybe we should just kind of do a little list of movies without going too much into the plot. Let the listener watch them for themselves.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think another one that's right in the same vein, Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
It's another all-time favorite of mine.
Yeah.
It's a little dark, but
Tim Robbins.
it's real. Morgan Freeman.
Yep. I would suggest Lost in Translation
Oh yeah.
with Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson, Sofia Coppola.
Yeah, or even we could go even a little more mainstream, which I'm sure most people listening to this podcast have already seen these movies, but the Dark Knight trilogy deals with some pretty deep thematic material as far as society is concerned.
Yeah, very much. Very much so. I know the brothers Nolan, in the last one, The Dark Knight Rises, they kind of used A Tale of Two Cities as kind of a template for telling the story of like an entire city like undergoing these like this upheaval of society, and how the common people would react in a situation like that, and how it comes down to kind of like an individual decision about your own behavior and your own actions.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more than like a comic book movie or something like that.
Yeah.
How about Burn After Reading?
Yeah.
I think that really captures kind of the randomness of real life, and like the way a chain of events has kind of like a butterfly effect on other people, and kind of just complete chaos and randomness of life.
Yeah. Well, if I have like a top 5 movies, which like it's kind of hard after those like first few to, there seems to be like echelons where like there's the pinnacle of greatness in movies, and then like a just plethora of them that are just under that.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of hard to flesh out a top 5 without like feeling like I left something out. But
Yeah.
if I had American Beauty is number 1, 1A has to be Burn After Reading.
Yeah.
The movie is like hilarious, and it makes some interesting points too.
Yeah. Yeah. Coen Brothers film.
I like A Scanner Darkly a lot too. Great movie.
Yeah, that movie's a trip.
Or going back to the 80s, They Live, John Carpenter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terrible special effects, but awesome movie.
Yeah. Like the underlying layer of it.
Yeah, the conspiracy theory kind of stuff going on in there.
The commentary on consumerism and all that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Pulp Fiction would have to be in a top 5, just for it's just a great film. I don't want to say that it necessarily comments on anything in particular.
There's some other Tarantino movies that kind of go under the radar, if you ask me. True Romance is a great movie, kind of in the same vein as Pulp Fiction, I think. Christian Slater is in that one, back in his heyday. But it's a classic. I love that movie. I'm not sure if Tarantino did this one. Natural Born Killers with Woody Harrelson.
I think someone else directed that one.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Was
That's
it
a
Oliver
crazy
Stone?
one, too. I don't know.
JFK by Oliver
Oh,
Stone.
man. That is a great one.
That really delves into the secrets behind the way the government functions. If you want to get a real look at how things happened, I think in the 20th century, that's your movie. How about Citizen Kane?
Yeah. It's another goodie. It's,
I think Dr. Strangelove, Stanley Kubrick, I think from like 1964. That's another really fucking good movie.
Or Clockwork Orange, if we're getting into
Mm-hmm.
Kubrick shit. That's a classic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Shining.
Of course. The Exorcism of Emily Rose is a really good movie. I think not for like the horror aspects of it, but for I like the courtroom drama of like.
Isn't Tom Wilkinson in that?
Oh yeah, the great Tom Wilkinson plays
I haven't seen it since it like came
the
out.
priest.
That movie kept me up for like weeks.
Oh
I
yeah.
Sleep at night, man.
Yeah. That maybe we can talk about the visitation too. It pops up in my mind in a second here, but Exorcism Emily Rose. I just like the like kind of trying to have a rational debate between like the spiritual. You know how like it comes into the courtroom. Like, can we like allow in our society at this point like this discussion to occur? You know, in the legal sense. You know,
Yeah.
in a legal context. I think that was just very compelling, the way they structured that kind of debate in that movie.
Oh man.
Should we talk about the visitation?
I don't know if that's if I want to go there. One of the more unsettling experiences of my life, to say the least. Well, I suppose we might as well.
Now that we've thrown it out there.
So,
I'll let you recount it and then I'll jump in.
yeah, just augment it. I'm bound to leave some stuff out. The story starts, as many of these stories do. We were in high school at the time, mind you, and we like to partake in some maybe immature activities.
Yeah,
Smoking marijuana.
maybe. Statute of limitations, this was a long time ago.
Yeah. So we were smoking some weed. Exorcism of Emily Rose had just came out on DVD, and we were gonna have a Satan movie marathon, pretty much.
Yeah, like an Exorcist marathon.
Yeah.
And we did.
Yeah, we did. But before, I don't know if this had anything to do with the visitation, but it's always kind of stuck out in my mind that this happened the same day.
One of our
Right
friends.
before. Yeah, he shall remain nameless, but he dedicated a bowl to Satan when we were smoking.
And we all kind of laughed, and then, whoa, we shouldn't say that. But then we all partook in this dedicated satanic bowl.
Yeah, I remember thinking to myself, whoa, that's a little heavy, that's kind of fucked up, I probably shouldn't. Oh, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna smoke
Right.
this.
Whatever,
anyway.
man, alright.
Anyhow, we watched like Exorcist the beginning, Exorcism of Emily Rose, Amityville Horror, in no particular order. I think there might have been like one or two more that we threw in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, we all fell asleep.
I would just like to interject there too, like it wasn't just the movies, like that whole like week and that whole day, all we were talking about was demonic possession. It was like just a real fascinating subject to us at that time, and we were just talking constantly about, we were dwelling on the subject of demonic, satanic possession and things like that.
Yeah, maybe drawing something into our collective psyche.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of time too, we're making light of it, which might be why this event occurred. Anyway, I woke up at like a little after 3 a.m., which is a significant time of the night if you follow these exorcist movies.
Yeah.
The demonic witching hour.
Mm-hmm. Which is supposedly an inversion of 3 o'clock in the
3
afternoon,
p.m.
which is supposedly
When
about
Christ
the time.
supposedly died.
Yeah, on the cross.
Yeah. So, I wake up at 3 a.m. Just real sharp and sudden out of a dead sleep. And I hear this, it's like this whispering, kind of, coming from back in the hall in your house.
The way I would describe, the way I heard it was this whispering, but it wasn't. I couldn't locate a spot that it was coming from. To me, it was like ethereal. It was like in my head almost. Like I couldn't. It wasn't coming from any direction, you know.
Yeah.
It was like it just surrounded me. Like a whisper surrounded me.
Well, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, or I don't know. What I thought was it sounded like Latin, or like if you watch the Harry Potter movies, parcel tongue.
Yeah, right. Like a serpent, like a serpent's whisper.
Yeah.
I would say Latin or like Aramaic. It sounded like an ancient language.
Yeah, something I didn't understand, but it sounded like...
It sounded sinister.
Yeah, it was scary as fuck, and I felt this, like, presence back there in the hall, like I was talking about, like, what little light there was in the house. It was 3 a.m., so it was pretty dark, but it was, like, being sucked into a void back there.
Yeah.
There was something lurking just around the corner.
It was too dark.
I was 18 years old at the time, mind you. I'm not, like, afraid of ghosts and, you know, waking up bumps in the night. Oh, I gotta go get my mom and dad. But I was so shook up by this that I went to wake you up, and as I, like, fucking come over to you, I realized your eyes are already fucking wide open.
And I remember you, the first thing you said, "Did you fucking hear that?" And my first reaction was, no.
Yeah.
I was lying.
Like, go back to sleep.
Yeah, I was clearly awake and, like, just tripping because I had heard the same thing you did. But I was in denial at that in the moment. I didn't want to admit to it.
Well, yeah, anyway, we were all freaked out. Jake woke up too. You guys left. And
yeah, we shortly left the house thereafter. 4 a.m. We just left. We took a drive because I wanted to get out of there.
I just wrote it off and kind of laid there trying to go back to sleep, but not really having any success.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a crazy experience, to say the least.
Yeah. It's an unsolved mystery to this day. I don't know. I wouldn't presume to describe exactly what it was. I don't know what it was. Who knows? We could have been it could have been in our heads. It would have been a remarkable coincidence that we both heard the same whispering noise.
And woke up at the exact same instant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll probably never know. But if it was a legitimate encounter, I think we kind of brought it on ourselves.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah. But it's in the past. That type of thing hasn't happened for a long time, so.
No, I'm still, like, up at 3 a.m. frequently, wake up frequently at that time, and I don't...
Doesn't bother me anymore.
I don't get spooked by it anymore, but that time, that was unexplainable.
Yeah.
Something unsettled me. Well, Josh, where do we go from here?
Well, I think we're about that time now.
Yeah.
I think we can wrap it up.
Another one in the books.
Is there any last thoughts today you'd like to leave anybody with, or?
Well, to quote American Beauty, we've all seen those posters, those motivational posters that say, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Well, that's true of every day except one, the day you die.
Poignant. All right. Thank you for joining us. Look closer.
Bang Rang Chun.